Everyone, Commissioners Diana Cook,
Present.
Cassandra Harvey, absent, Raj Mali,
Here.
Sandy Smith,
Here.
Fabian Teresiano,
Here.
Vice Chairman Randy Hall,
Here.
Chairman James Vose, absent. We do have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. If we all stand for the invocation. Lord, we seek your blessings on the tasks before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. I pray in your name. Amen. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be done by Commissioner Cook.
Please join me in the salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call to order. Public business from the floor. If an individual is unable to stay through the entire meeting due to extenuating circumstances, a total of 10 minutes is provided at this time, during which input may be given regarding agenda items. Individual speakers are limited to 2 minutes each. Any person that would like to address the Planning Commission on any agendaized item is requested to complete a speaker card for the recording secretary and identify the agenda item you would like to discuss. Each person will be given an opportunity to address the Planning Commission at the time such item is discussed by the Planning Commission. Speakers' cards are available at the rear of the council chambers. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes on this type. Do we have any speakers? Okay, so the uncontested public hearing, oral staff report will not be presented if, 1, no one in the audience wishes to speak in opposition to the item to be heard. 2, the applicant has reviewed the staff reports and agrees to abide by the conditions recommended in the report. And 3, members of the commission wish to waive the report. The chairman will then entertain a motion to act on the item. The consent calendar, number 1, approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of February 25th, 2013. Do I have a motion?
I move to accept those minutes.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Would you like to state your vote?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
New public hearings, conditional use permit number 13-0 is a request to allow on-sale beer and wine and distilled spirits, ABC license type 47, and to allow entertainment of 5-piece mariachi band every other Sunday from 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at Domingo's Mexican and Seafood Restaurant in the C Commercial Zone. Do any of the commissioners want to hear a staff report? Any discussion? I had one question on it. The conditions are pretty specific on the mariachi band every other Sunday from 11:30 to 2:30 p.m. If the applicant wanted to, say, have a karaoke night for a happy hour on Monday night, does he have to contact the city to do something like that? And what conditions would he need to contact the city for if he had some sort of special event?
I'll let the planner for the project, Chris, answer that question.
Good evening, Chair Hall. The applicant would need to get approval from the director regarding any changes in times or any other kind of uses that he would like to have beside what's outlined in this staff report.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Would you like to address the commission? Mr. Gutierrez, welcome.
Yeah, my name is Domingo Gutierrez. Have a restaurant in Boron, and we went to Ashby since 1988. And we have a lot of customers that travel from Lancaster to Boron and to Ashby. And now we I grew up in Lael Valley as a kid, and I went to junior high school here, and now we'd like to bring Domingos to Lancaster, and just hopefully we want to cater to the family crowd. That's our job, is to cater to the family people, which is Edward Air Force Base and all the local people in the Lael Valley. So we're asking you guys to please allow us to come back to Lancaster.
Have you been in Lancaster before?
I grew up in Lancaster. As a business, no. I worked in the business in Lancaster as a kid. Started back in the 70s. I was busboy at Casa Miguel 3 years, and Don Cucos on 10th Street West, and I was the manager of Alto Pepe's from Medrontes right now. And for some reason, Warren gave me a great opportunity back in '88, and I took advantage of it. So now it's time to come back to Lancaster.
Yeah, I'm glad you're coming back. I was curious if you understood the conditions for the music and the entertainment. The entertainment was very specific, and say if you had a special event out in the parking lot, that was a question I had asked in a...
I think only thinking about Mary Karaoke, because there's many other places carry it. We just want to stay competitive. We don't want to cater to the right crowd. We want to cater to the family crowd. But sometimes there's different places that have karaoke, and we want to just stay in competition with everybody else and cater to what our guests want to know.
Thank you. Any of the commissioners have any?
I just want to make a comment. I love your restaurant in Tehachapi, and often go past the one in Boron when I'm on my way to or from Vegas, and have not stopped there. But I have already heard a lot of buzz from people saying they're very excited about you coming. So welcome to our community.
If you know, I'm not trying to say anything, but in the 20 years period in Boron, we hosted, I estimate, about 100 astronauts came to visit us, and we have a lot of...
You have a great
memorabilia
reputation.
We're bringing that to Lancaster. I'm bringing 7 items that they've been flown out of space for Domingo, and we have a lot of pyramidal coins that we're bringing out to Lancaster. So
Well, I'll be there.
I think our job is we have to bring the best for the best, and come back to Lancaster. I think is we like to bring the best. We make sure everybody's happy. So we want to be happy.
Great.
So,
We all want
thank
to
you.
be happy.
Thank
be
you.
happy when you get here.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
comments. If the commission has anything else to add or say, then the public hearing on this should be closed, and we'll entertain a motion to approve conditional use permit number 13-01.
Make a motion that we adopt resolution number 13-02, approving conditional use permit number 13-01.
Second that. Sorry.
We have a motion and a second. Ready to vote? I'm ready.
I apologize. Would you like to state your vote?
My vote is yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Gutierrez. We look forward to visiting your restaurant.
And
Look forward to it.
and motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Sorry, Joey. Okay, new business from the floor. We're going to be talking about solar energy projects, and our presenter is going to be Jocelyn Swain.
Where'd it go? Vice Chairman Hall and Commissioners, the following presentation is to give you a brief overview of the different types of solar projects that can be built, the projects that we've approved in the city of Lancaster, the requirements associated with those projects that we have approved, and to give you a quick briefing on what's coming down the pike that you'll be seeing and other projects that you may hear about that you may not be seeing. Okay. There are several types of solar projects or solar technology. You have the photovoltaic panels, and those panels can either be fixed, single access, which means they either track north-south or east-west, or dual access, which means they track in all 4 directions. You can have concentrating solar, which has one big solar panel with lots of little solar panels embedded in it. You can have the solar tower power, which is what we all know as the eSolar project. That's an example of it. And you can also have a type of solar project called trough technology, where the panels are laid out in a trough and a pipeline runs down the center of it, either with oil or with water, which gets heated in order to turn the turbines. Okay, these are just some examples of these types. So the one on the left, these are fixed solar panels. Those are the ones that you see at the Kaiser facility off of 15th Street West. The ones on the right are single access tracking, and that was what was built with the Recurrent project out at 97th Street West and Avenue I. Okay, on this one on the left-hand side, and it's a little hard to see, these are the concentrating solar panels. You probably read about them in the paper associated with Hillview off of Rancho Vista. These shown here are at the Del Sur Elementary School off of 90th and H. And then the one on the right, and it's really hard to see in here, is the solar tower power from eSolar. Joy, is there a way to turn off the lights over there? Okay. Okay. Different types of projects have different approval authorities. All types of solar projects less than 50 megawatts in size can be permitted by a local agency, whether that's the county or the city. Solar projects that are greater than 50 megawatts, with the exception of the photovoltaic panels, have to be permitted by the Public Utilities Commission. All PV projects of any size, so you know the 10, 20 megawatt size up to the one they're currently building that straddles the Kern County, LA County line, that's 650 megawatts, those can be permitted by local authorities. You have 2 major categories of solar projects. You have what's called behind-the-meter projects, and those are alternative energy projects that are installed to provide power to the primary use on the property, whether that's a commercial use, industrial use, or a residential use. These behind-the-meter projects are approved at staff level with a director's review, and it generally for residential is done over the counter. For commercial and industrial uses, you're probably talking maybe at most a week. This includes solar on residential, commercial, or industrial buildings, ground-mounted solar providing electricity to a building, and solar carports and shade structures. And per state law, the only conditions that can be applied to behind-the-meter projects pertain to public safety. You cannot condition them to put fencing in. You can't condition them to put enhanced fencing. You can't condition them to put landscaping in, and that's by California code. Examples include the Kaiser facility at 15th Street West and K8, Lancaster Baptist Church, the Auto Mall, the carport shade structures at city facilities, and the Lancaster and East Side School District projects. So this is a behind-the-meter at Del Sur Elementary School. It's an example of the concentrating solar power. These are solar shade structures at City Park. This is the Kaiser facility, and you can see they did put a little landscaping in, but it wasn't a city requirement for that landscaping. This is the Auto Mall. And this is an example of a behind-the-meter residential project, so probably what you're most familiar with seeing for the residential rooftops. Okay. Commercial scale projects are alternative energy projects that are developed with the sole purpose of selling power back to a utility provider, whether that utility provider is Edison, PG&E, a municipal utility. Under city zoning, they are allowed in the heavy industrial zone with a director's review, which is a staff level approval, or they're allowed in the RR1 and RR 2.5 zones with a conditional use permit. So those are the projects that you've been seeing. These commercial scale projects come in 2 different sizes. You have a smaller scale, typically in 1.5 megawatt increments, which tie directly into low voltage distribution lines, which are the 12 kV that run up and down almost any city street. And you have larger scale, which typically utilizes a higher voltage generation tie line, and those tie lines are 66 kV or larger, to connect either into a substation or into a collector substation. To date, we have approved 14 conditional use permits for a total of 523.4 megawatts that have been filed since February 2010. Of these, 13 for 193.4 megawatts have been approved. One project has been built and is operational. 2 projects for a total of 4.9 megawatts are currently under construction. Okay. Oh, this isn't going to work. This is a shot of the east side. You have a solar project over here, and you have 2 here and here. The one that is down here is currently under construction, and this project up here is getting ready to start. This is the center part of the city, so this is the eSolar site, and this is Topco. This is the old fairgrounds. This is 3rd and Kettering. The Topco sites are also anticipated to start construction here soon. And this is the west side. This project right here is built and operational. It started producing power, I'm guessing, about 2 weeks ago, and currently produces 19.5 megawatts of power a day. You have springtime here. You have summer. This is another Silverado project. This is the Beautiful Earth project, another Silverado project. This is the Absolutely Solar project, which is under construction now, and then there's another Silverado project over here. This is the Recurrent Energy facility that's currently operational. When I took the pictures, it was that weekend of the really nasty windstorm, so all of the panels are what's called in the stow position to prevent them from being damaged, and you can see the landscaping in front. Here's another shot of it on Avenue I. This is looking at the south side of the project site. This is going to be a little hard to see, but you're actually looking at the site from 90th Street West, facing west, just north of Avenue I, and the site starts right there. But all of the existing tamarisk trees block the view from drivers on the street. This is the Absolutely Solar site. It's currently under construction between K8 and K12 on 90th Street West. There's another shot of it. The water tank there is mandatory. Okay. Within the next 3 months, we have 3 projects which will be starting their plan check process to pull their permits. That's the 2 Topco locations, and Topco and 2 Sunlight Partners projects, so for a total of 10.5 megawatts. And by the end of June, we will have 3 Silverado projects which will have started their plan check process for another 40 megawatts to be under construction. Requirements, fencing and landscaping. Perimeter fencing is required, and the type of fencing that is utilized is dependent on the location. Chain link fencing is allowed in the rural or less developed areas, locations in the central part of the city, or near particularly sensitive receptors. Must use tubular steel or something of the equivalent. A 10-foot wide landscape perimeter is required to screen the project site from public view, and that's required to go around the entire perimeter unless there's some reason, like an existing block wall that is for another use. We wouldn't require landscaping to be put in front of that. The landscaping must be drought tolerant and preferably native. When water lines are available adjacent to the project site, such as in the case of Topco, the landscaping must be irrigated. When water lines are not available, landscaping must be watered by an alternate means until landscaping is firmly established and can survive on its own. There's a couple ways they can do that. They can do it by water truck. There's something called dry water, which is like a gel pack that gets inserted next to the roots, and it releases water slowly over a period of 2 to 3 months, and then they just place the gel pack over the course of several years. Existing trees and large shrubs on the perimeter of a project site are required to remain in place and to be incorporated into the landscaping. So this is the recurrent site on Avenue I, looking east, and you can see these are all the tamarisk trees that are there. The solar panels are immediately on the other side. You can see them very briefly right there, but other than that, the existing shrubs block view of the solar panels. This is the Absolutely Solar site. It used to be an olive orchard. All of the trees on the perimeter of the site were kept in place, and the landscaping they will be submitting will be to fill in the gaps. If we can find an olive tree that is fast-growing, they're going to fill it in with olive trees. Otherwise, they're going to come up with some other suitable plant type. This is the landscaping that was put at recurrent. These were 5-gallon shrubs. The landscape architect is going back out to the site to make sure that all of the plants are doing well, and those that are not will be replaced. They were planted 5 feet on center, and while they don't look like much now, that's what they will grow up to be. They expected probably 2 to 3 years until they're about that size, which will screen the 8-foot fence and solar panels from view. Benefits of these alternative energy projects. First, it helps the city to achieve the goal of being net zero. It provides a revenue source to the city. All of the projects are required to use Lancaster as their point of sale for all direct and indirect purchases, and the cost of the solar panels is many, many millions of dollars. Additionally, they provide jobs for local employees. And just as an example, all of our developers are encouraged to hire locally, and staff is available to help them with the process. Recurrent Energy, or what was the Tuso project, hired 142 local employees out of 172 employees on the site for an 83% local hire rate. TSK, which is the Absolutely Solar project currently under construction, all 25 jobs were local hires through a combined effort of city staff and the local workforce center. With respect to upcoming projects, we have a conditional use permit filed on approximately 1,200 acres that would produce 330 megawatts of power, and we are currently processing an EIR. That draft EIR, when I wrote this, was likely to be out towards the end of the year, but probably will not be out until the beginning part of next year. I have 3 solar conditional use permits that are expected to be filed this month for, I would guess, probably close to 40 to 50 megawatts worth of power. 2 of these are on the west side. One of these, the other one is on the east side, just west of the soccer center. All 3 of these conditional use permits are expected to be before the Planning Commission in either July or August of this year. Then we have a couple of projects that you may read about in the paper, you may hear about, but they won't be coming through Lancaster for approval. The first one is the Clearview transmission line. This is a 2,500 megawatt transmission line that is proposed as an alternate to the Coolwater-Lugo transmission line in the state transmission plan. It's a public-private partnership between High Desert Power Authority and Critical Path Transmission. The north-south line is a direct current underground line between Pear Blossom and Highway 58, which would run through Edwards Air Force Base. There is an east-west component, which would be alternating current overhead between Kramer Junction and Wind Hub, which is roughly off of Willow Springs Road. This line is being considered for inclusion in the state transmission plan. That draft plan is out, and staff recommendations from the California, from CAISO, and I can't remember what it stands for, were released last week. This line, if constructed, would help export alternative energy produced in Kern County. The EIR is being prepared with Kern County as the lead agency. And this is a map of the route. So it starts down here in Pear Blossom, runs up. There's 2 alternative routes up to Edwards Air Force Base, through Edwards Air Force Base, and then it would run from Kramer over here to Windhub. I believe it's approximately 70 miles worth of transmission lines. And the other one is the Desert Renewable Energy Conservation Plan. This is a 7-county conservation plan that is supposed to streamline the permitting of alternative energy projects with respect to biological resources. It's being prepared by a collaboration of state and federal agencies, Fish and Wildlife, California Department of Fish and Wildlife, Bureau of Land Management, Energy Commission, and the Public Utilities Commission, with input from local governments, environmental organizations, wind and solar companies, and the military. City of Lancaster is the only city that has been made a stakeholder in this process. The next stakeholder meeting should be taking place sometime in the next couple of months, and the City of Lancaster will be hosting it. The draft plan and the draft EIR, EIS are to be released for public review towards the end of the year. And I think that's it, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have questions. Does anybody on the commission want to go first? Do you? Me? Okay. So one of the ones was on the behind the meter that you brought up, and it sounded like that it said in your presentation that it would be able to generate power behind the meter. So I was wondering, if the grid goes down, will the house go dark?
Yes. It works just the way, if you have solar put on your house, there's an emergency cutoff switch. So while you, because you're tied into the grid, so you produce power, and any excess power that you don't use goes back to Edison and you get a credit for it, which allows you to pull power from the grid at a time when you're not producing enough. But every behind-the-meter project has a kill switch, so that if the grid goes down for some reason, say we have a really bad windstorm and it knocks out poles, they don't want a house producing power and trying to force it into the grid when they don't know what's wrong.
I'm just curious from my standpoint, why didn't the switch just turn off the grid instead of turn off the house?
Well, because the grid is huge, and so there may be a problem only in a certain area, so it's going to take down the houses in that certain area. It wouldn't be citywide. If you were to shut down the grid, you would be shutting down a much larger area.
Maybe I wasn't clear. The switch could just turn the grid off so it wouldn't generate back into the grid.
It's a safety, it's how Edison does it and PG&E does it, and I'm not sure of all the reasons why.
I would love for somebody to explain that clearly, because I think a lot of people, when they sat on the East Coast, when they had the superstorm come through there, had beautiful electric cars and solar generating equipment, and were in the dark.
And that's true, and that would happen here. The only way around that is if you have battery storage.
So you could have a bank of lead-acid batteries, or...
Yeah, and those can be put in, but if you have battery backup, then it would power for a while. But it wouldn't be powering from your solar panels, it would be powering from your battery backup.
You could have a car as a backup, too, hybrid plug-in.
I'm not sure of the requirements on that one. Or if you were completely independent of the grid, so you weren't tied into the grid at all, and you were completely reliant on your own solar, if the grid went dark, you would still be fine.
Okay, that answers. There's another question. I was told that solar energy, there's some that works at night. Have you heard of that?
There is no solar energy that works at night. It needs sunlight.
There is the trough method and your tower.
Right, but the trough method is heating what's in that pipeline from the sun. So you have, the sun is still having to hit the panels to then heat up whatever's in that pipeline. If there's nothing hitting the panels to generate the heat, then there's no heat going into it's not heating up the liquid.
Couldn't the liquid, be it water or...
It can be oil, too.
Oil, couldn't it be stored in a tank and slowly release its energy at peak periods after the sun sets, and it wouldn't...
I guess, but it wouldn't be, the panels wouldn't be operating in the dark.
But the plant could feasibly be generating power.
Yes.
I'm just curious, it would be a question to ask somebody that was going to do that type of project.
Yeah. None of those types of projects have been proposed here.
That one on Avenue G would lend itself to that.
Yeah, the one on Avenue G actually isn't, the panels reflect their light up to the top of those towers, and the water runs up in the tower, and so when they're on, it's reflecting all of that light up there, which heats the water and creates the steam, which turns the turbine. So there isn't a delayed storage of hot water that could then power the turbine.
So couldn't it only store it? It couldn't really generate it once the sun is down?
Store what?
Energy?
No, it powers directly into the grid. It doesn't, they don't store the energy anywhere on site. It's,
Power into the grid, though?
yeah, so it's,
That's what I mean, once the sun is down.
no, because the sun is being used to heat the water, which is turning the turbine. So if the sun is down, there's no sun to heat the water, which is turning the turbine. So it's not generating electricity after dark.
Couldn't it generate extra heat and store the water into insulated tanks and then generate electricity later on? I mean,
The water is being converted to steam, which is what turns the turbine. There's no way to store water that I'm aware of at a hot enough temperature to then turn the turbine.
Okay. So any solar work at night, you've never heard of that?
No.
Okay. The other question had to do with the panels. You took a picture and showed the panels flat in the stowed position, you said.
Yes.
Is that an automatic thing?
I believe it's done by computer.
So there's a weather station that monitors and...
Every solar site has a meteorological station on it, which measures the wind, the temperature, all of that, and that generally gets put in before the panels. So when they're in this position, the computer has told it to go there, because there's the speed of the wind or some other condition is not conducive to having them tilted.
Recently, we had some solar panels in Palmdale that generated some controversy, and I was wondering, is Lancaster going to have any kind of panels in the planning stage that we may have to look at like that? The concentrating, I think you call it.
Yeah. At this time, nothing has been submitted that looks like that. And these panels, it's hard to see here, but the fence line is about right there. So the fence is 8 feet high. The base is at least 8 to 10, and the panels are about 21 by 14. To date, we have had nothing filed that is this type of technology. It is possible that the one on the east side might contain this, because I don't know, just to give you a little more background on that one, it's going to be one use permit, but there are 3 developers, so there'll be like 3 mini solar fields within the site, and each developer may use a different type of technology. Until they submit it, I won't know what they plan on using. The 2 projects on the west side will be the same as all the other panels we've looked at. It'll be the PV panel, at most single access tracking.
Are we going to learn from Palmdale's mistake on this type, or are we going to...
Well, because these were put in by the school district, and the school district acts as its own lead agency, so it never went through the city of Palmdale. I do know that the school board had public hearings, but I don't know how they were noticed. Anything that involves something like this, the initial study will have gone out before you see it, so they'll have a period of time to review that, which would describe exactly what the panels are, and all property owners would also be notified of the types of panels in the public hearing notice.
Would the city be monitoring the school types of stuff for this type of situation and maybe warn them ahead of time?
I have a whole file of solar articles. So yeah, as they come in, and this is, at least the east side project is probably a little different because it's not immediately adjacent to any developed use.
Okay. Another question I had to do with the direct current. You said that one of the project's future development was going to be direct current, but 100 years ago, we had Edison and Tesla going head-to-head over direct current versus AC current. And one of the problems with direct current was the huge resistance that has to be overcome, the fantastic generating capacity that has to be overcome to transmit it, and that's why we have alternating current today.
Right, which is, on this project here, Direct current is what the solar panels actually produce. And so you have an inverter on every site that changes it to alternating current so that it can tie into the lines and the substations. But direct current is a more efficient way of actually transporting electrons. You lose less, but it also means that multiple projects cannot tie directly into the line. It's much more, so this is proposed to be direct burial, so the cable would get buried immediately underground, but it's not something that then a solar facility could build next to and tap into. So they would only be tying in at substations.
That's not my understanding of direct current about saving electrons, because the electron in a direct current actually has to go out, and in alternating current, it's just a wave.
Right.
And in the direct current, you have to have generating facilities so often to keep the flow going. Is that what they're thinking with this? Is there'll be, because it would be tied in, it would have to be.
Yeah, they tie into the two substations, but it would be an underground direct current.
And my last question to get everybody, it's not so antsy, is a stakeholder. What's that mean for Lancaster?
I'm not even sure how best to describe this. Along with the counties there and several other entities, they're the ones who are considering being a permitting entity for this conservation plan. So we would actually adopt it, and we would issue permits to our developers in order to go through. I'm not sure how soon this project actually would be up and running, and whether or not the city would have much benefit from adopting projects under the conservation plan, because we don't have lots and lots of more space to permit solar projects. It's more useful for, I think, the counties, but it's a matter of whether or not they want to participate.
Sorry, there's one more question. Is generating capacity, there's going to be a point when we have every square foot of area covered in some sort of generating piece of equipment. Is there a point where it comes to the output will outstrip the demand and we won't need to?
All utility providers are required by law to provide 30% of all their power from renewable sources by 2020. So when you have a provider who is issuing a power purchase agreement and an interconnect agreement, they're looking at that to determine whether or not they need more. So while we may permit, from a land use perspective, a solar plant on a piece of property, they may not get a power purchase agreement, an interconnect agreement from a utility, and therefore they would not build.
So the 30% that the utilities are required to use alternative, just for off the top of your head, how much of the state of California would have to be covered in, say, PV panels to make that 30%?
I have no idea. Quite a few of the utilities say they already have their permitted. Now they already have their 30%. Different utilities are different, but like Edison believes they have most of the 30% they need.
So we're reaching the end of this.
Yeah, unless the state, and there has been some talk about making it go to 40%.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Director's announcements. Thank you, Jocelyn. Ms. Swain, I appreciate that. Director's announcements. Is there any director's
Vice
announcements?
Chairman Hull, we do have one speaker
On,
for the presentation.
okay. What speaker's name? You want to call her?
Kevin.
Kevin? Kevin, come on up here to the podium and lectern. Did you say?
How you doing?
I'm good. Welcome. Can you please state your name?
Oh, my name is Kevin Mavens.
Thank you, Kevin. What did you want to?
It's about the space. Forgot the name of it. The guy was talking about right now, like last part y'all was talking about this thing. What is it? What is it again? The last part you guys talking about, you know, about the thing about this space thing, huh? Holder, yeah, space holder. Is really how it sounds pretty, you know, pretty cool. You know, we like how like something like that, like around, well, we like people can have more energy and. Because this is the first time I've been here. I didn't know what I was doing. Then she's like, I just saw like I was talking about it and I was listening. It sounded very like intriguing to me. I don't know, like it supposed to like save like more energy or something. Like I was wondering if it had to like how should I say this? Save more energy. That's what I want to know. Do it save more energy though? That's what I want. Like, that's all my question was. Cause I was while I heard it. That's all I want to say. Anyways.
All right. Thank you for
this first time I've been here. My bad.
Is there any more speakers?
We have none.
In that case, director's announcements.
We'd like to excuse Planning Director Brian Ludicky at this meeting. As you may know, the residential zones that was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission back in January will go before the City Council next Tuesday. So we will see what happens with that. Other than that, I have no further announcements.
Thank you. Commission's agenda, anybody have any comments or questions? I had one. I had an interesting thing I saw on a traffic signal this weekend. It was a flashing yellow light. The sign said, yield on flashing yellow. And I was thinking how many times I have sat when the road was clear and I couldn't make a left turn because of a left red arrow. And some smart person decided to flash the yellow and allow the turn if it was safe. And I was wondering if that was something that the city could look into, because we have quite a few of those types of arrows. Excuse me?
The same thing as having just a straight green light.
Yes, it certainly would be just like a straight green light, but now as it's set up, you have a controlled intersection with a red arrow, and it means no left turn, where traffic can be going, and the opposing traffic coming at you, you see an opening, but the light's still letting traffic go by. If the light was flashing yellow, then you could go. But the way it is now, you have to stay there or you get a ticket for running the red light.
Yeah, I think we can turn this over to our city engineer, Michelle Cantrell, who's not here today, but she could probably provide more insight on that topic.
I thought it was a great idea when I saw it. I just like, this is... Anyway, that's all I had on mine. Public business from the floor, non-agendaized items. This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the commission on any subject regarding city business. Under state legislation, no action can be taken on non-agendaized items. Members of the public should be aware of this when addressing the commission regarding items not specifically referenced on the agenda. Please complete a speaker card for the recording secretary. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Are there any speakers on non-agendaized items?
We have none.
Does the commission have anything else? Then this meeting is adjourned to the special meeting for agenda review on Monday, April 8th, 2013 at 5:30 p.m. in the Planning Commission Conference Room, City Hall. And thank you very much. Good night.